I think it's pretty evident right now that Jayson Tatum is the most disrespected player in the NBA, and it's really a shame because he's been on an absolute tear this season, and he's not really getting the respect that he deserves. Tatum this year is the 7th leading scorer in the NBA, averaging over 26 points per game, but really an area in his game where I feel he's developed the most is his ability to play, make, and facilitate for the Boston Celtics. His ability to take the double team and find the open guy, his ability to drive in the lane and attract so many different defenders and kick it out to this great three-point shooting Celtics squad. And I think the greatest example of that really this season has been whenever Boston has played against New York. Tatum just in the most recent game had 25, 9, and 10, just one assist short of a triple-double. And in the previous 2 games, he torched them offensively, going for 40 points and then 37 points. And the New York Knicks are the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, and Boston hasn't made any of these games even relatively close. We all know that Jayson Tatum is one of the most gifted basketball players in terms of isolation scoring in the entire league, but he's done such a great job throughout his career becoming a better defender, becoming a great playmaker, becoming a great rebounder, and that's why he's one of the most versatile players in the league. But when you look at Tatum right now, averaging over 26 points per game, that ranks 7th in the entire NBA, he's such a great isolation scorer, and he's been so great at that throughout his entire career. And when you're the New York Knicks and you leave Jayson Tatum one-on-one against Mikal Bridges or against Josh Hart, 2 of your better defenders, it's simply not good enough, and Tatum will expose them all day long, and that's why he's been so successful against the Knicks this season. And when they try and double him, that's when things get even worse. But we'll take a look at this isolation scoring montage from Tatum here. This is the 2nd game of the year against New York and against Boston. Cornette's going to come up to set this screen on Achua, but Tatum decides to reject it, get to his right, gets downhill, snatches Achua's ankles with this step back 3-pointer, and that's as good as it gets there from Jayson Tatum. Now we're going to look at this next clip here a little bit later on in the game. Boston has really grown this lead late in the shot clock. Mikal Bridges, one of New York's better defenders, matched up against Tatum here. He's going to do his thing, get to that signature sidestep 3-pointer. Cash money, nothing you can do about it. And he was on one this game. There was just simply nothing that New York could do, no matter who was guarding him. That was simply good defense, but just better offense. All right, so this is opening night here, first game of the season, Celtics, Knicks. Tatum here at the 3-point line. He really doesn't even have to take a dribble to create any space. He's just going to hit him with one jab, threaten the drive. He gets that space, is able to rise up, and he's just such a great 3-point shooter at this point in his career, and there's simply nothing you can do about it. Here's a little bit earlier in the 3rd quarter, Tatum against one of the better defenders for the New York Knicks and Mikal Bridges. The middle of the floor is virtually wide open for Jayson Tatum, so he's going to get to that left hand, back him down, fake the spin move, fade away jumper. It's as pure as it gets right there, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we'll stay in this Knicks game. Tatum's going to get the ball at the top of the 3-point line. He gets cross-matched with Sims here in transition, so he's just going to lull him to sleep in between the legs, rise up, hand down, man down, I'm better than you, and splashes it home. All right, we'll stay in the 2nd quarter of this game. Tatum had so many great isolation highlights here. They're just starting to pile up. But he's going to get the ball, just dribble it down on Mikal Bridges, do whatever he wants, hits a nice little step back 3 right in his eyes. There's just simply nothing that the New York Knicks could do. Tatum was on a heater this game, and this is why he's truly one of the greatest players in the league, ladies and gentlemen. He does this on a nightly basis, and yet people just want to sit here and hate on the guy. All right, let's try Josh Hart out. Let's see if he can potentially get a stop on Jayson Tatum this time, because Mikal Bridges simply wasn't getting it done. There's nothing fancy here. Tatum's going to fake that spin move. He's going to get to his left hand, get downhill. I'm a better player than you are, and what a finish with that left hand. Karl-Anthony Towns is not able to get over there in time and contest that shot, and Jayson Tatum says, I am better than you are, with another nice finish here. All right, so if you guys know anything about the game of basketball, you know what a screen and roll is. It's one of the most simple and most common things run offensively. It's what all basketball teams do, no matter what age range, middle school, varsity basketball, here in the NBA. And it has been so effective against the New York Knicks, and they've had no answer against it all year long whenever they face off against the Boston Celtics. And I really think the one issue for the New York Knicks here is that they have Karl-Anthony Towns, who they don't know whether they should put him in that drop coverage or whether they should blitz Tatum, because Tatum has just become such a good passer that you're always going to be put in a bind whether you're going to guard him aggressively or whether you're going to play back. And it's just a pick your poison game with Jayson Tatum at this point. But we'll look at some of these screen and rolls and really how effective they've been against the New York Knicks this season. This is back to the second game of the year. Celtics here on the road. Midway through the first quarter, Kata's going to come set this screen on Mikal Bridges. Look at how high up Tatum is. He's literally at half court. He's going to switch and get a little confusion going on here between Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns, and he's literally just going to walk his way up to the three-point line. Tatum from the logo. Hello, and he knocks it on home. Now, that was a very difficult shot here, but there are a lot of examples throughout this montage of Jayson Tatum just being able to do whatever he wants, and he makes it look really simple, but when he's hitting tough shots like that, there's just nothing you can do, but you're going to see a lot more examples here. This time, Kornet's in the game. He's going to come set this screen on Josh Hart, and you look at this separation that Karl Anthony Towns is giving Jayson Tatum. That is just simply disrespectful. He can come off this screen and hit the three-pointer if he wants to. He can get downhill and cause other guys to collapse and kick it out for wide open three-pointers. This is just not the winning solution here for New York, and you're going to see Tatum here. Once he comes off this screen, he's going to hit the big bodega with an in-and-out dribble. He's lost in the dust, and Precious Achiuwa comes over to help, and oh my goodness, he gets posterized. That is in the first minute of the game. That's how you set the tone, and Boston has been doing this to New York all season long. Again, Tatum's going to be very high up here, almost at half court, and Mikal Bridges is not giving him any separation. And you see this time, Jaylen Brown's going to come set this screen and try and get Jalen Brunson mismatched onto Tatum here. This time, unlike Cat, he's not sitting back, letting Tatum just walk into a wide open three. He's kind of half hedging it here. Tatum just decides to say, well, you know what? I'm 6'9". I'm just going to shoot this three because I'm going to make it. And he hits it. Back to this most recent game that we saw on Sunday. They have OG Anunoby now on Tatum. They tried so many different players on him and it just never worked. But here we're going to see Kornet come up and set this screen on Anunoby very high up. This is a few feet past the three-point line. Tatum's going to get to that crossover. Karl Anthony Towns is all the way over on this right side here. I mean, what is he doing? That is way too much separation. Tatum can get ahead of steam, can get downhill. This is where the problems start for the New York Knicks. In no world should a screen be set with this much separation in between Karl Anthony Towns and Jayson Tatum. That's when all of the big-time problems start to happen because, as I said, he can get downhill, he can play make, he can hit the three, he can do whatever he wants offensively, and this is just simply too much space. Tatum's going to get to that crossover. Karl Anthony Towns is trying to chase him and beat him to the spot. He crosses back over again. Hauser with a nice little screen, and Tatum with a beautiful finish, getting all the way to the rack. This time it's Karl Anthony Towns. Tatum's taking the ball up the court. Al Horford's going to set a nice little screen here on Bridges. Tatum kind of comes back out of it, uses the screen fully this time. Karl Anthony Towns has to step up, and Tatum says, I'm simply better than you, and he knocks it down. And that's a tough shot here for Jayson Tatum, but he was just in such a rhythm that night. Even if it's not going well, and Tatum decides to get downhill, he has the entire middle of the court wide open, and he can make some bad things happen against this New York team. All right, so now this time they're actually going to have Tatum set the screen, so instead of Mikal Bridges being the original defender, they're going to get Jalen Brunson switched on to him, and yet again, he's getting the ball at the logo. Luke Kornet's going to come up and set this screen. Karl Anthony Towns this time says, I'm not going to give you that much room, so he steps up a little bit. Jayson Tatum says, thank you very much. I'll be taking this right through the middle of the lane and dunking it on home. And this is the problem for New York, folks. If they want to sit back and play Karl Anthony Towns 10 feet deep, Tatum's just going to walk into a wide open three-pointer every single time. And if they want to put Karl Anthony Towns up on Tatum, he's just going to simply run right past him and dunk it home every single time. And we're going to see this separation cause problems here for New York again. Tatum nearly at half court. Kornet's going to come up and set this screen. Look at where Karl Anthony Towns is. He is immediately retreating because he knows that Jayson Tatum can blow by him at every single point. Jayson Tatum gets to his spot, top of the three-point line, knocks it on home. All right, this time at the end of the first quarter, this time the Celtics are going to do a little double screen action here with Kornet and Hauser. But in reality, Tatum knows which way he's going to go the entire time. He wants to attack the big bodega. He doesn't want to go after Jalen Brunson, even though they're both poor defenders against him. Tatum gets to his left hand, does a little in and out dribble, crosses over, and man, that's a tough finish. That's good defense, but there's nothing you can do about it because Jayson Tatum is a 6'9" physical player that can get downhill, can finish at the rim, he can pull up at the three-point line, and that's why people need to realize that he is one of the best players in our league. Staying in this Sunday's game, OG Anunoby's now going to get the assignment. All right, so I want to point out a few things here before I fully break this play down. So we know that Precious Achiuwa is guarding Luke Cornett. We see Mikal Bridges is guarding Jaylen Brown, and we see that OG Anunoby is guarding Jayson Tatum. Tatum's dribbling the ball up the court. Cornett is going to come set this screen on him, but look at what Precious Achiuwa is doing. He's expecting this screen from Jaylen Brown, and he just kind of retreats out of it. A little miscommunication here. Cornett sets the screen for Tatum, but look at Precious Achiuwa here. He's just sitting in the paint guarding nobody with his hands in his pants, letting Tatum walk into a wide open three-pointer. I mean, it's honestly funny at this point. Like, do they just think that Tatum is an incapable player? Do they think they just picked him up from the YMCA? Again, second game of the season. This is in the first quarter. Tatum's going to get the ball, dribbles it up the court. Look at Karl-Anthony Towns here. Where is he? Where Luke Cornett sets the screen. Boom, right here. Karl-Anthony Towns is just above the free throw line, but you're just going to let a 35%er walk into a wide open three. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. Those are practice shots. In the second quarter, Boston with already a 15-point lead. It doesn't matter who's setting the screen. It doesn't matter if it's Cornett, Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis, Neemias Queta. Heck, for all I care, I could be setting the screen. Queta's going to come up and set the screen. This time they're sick of Tatum walking into wide open three-pointers, so Karl-Anthony Towns is going to come up a little bit, but Tatum says, you know what? I'm feeling it. I'm knocking this down. And he knocks it down. New York went on a little bit of a run here, so they made it close. So Boston said, all right, we got to lock back in. Let's just put Karl-Anthony Towns in a little bit of a predicament here. And Boston does a really good job. When they're coming up to have these centers set the screen on whoever's guarding Tatum, they always have, whether it's Derek White or Jaylen Brown, this middle guy right here, they're going to set that original screen on Karl-Anthony Towns, so he's already a little bit delayed. And that's why we saw Sims and Achiuwa kind of turning their head earlier when they see their guys going up to set that screen, because they're like, all right, let's just immediately switch off of that, and then they don't end up doing it, and they just let Tatum walk into a wide open three. So Queta here, he's going to be streaking through to come set this screen on Tatum. Karl-Anthony Towns is screaming in a zesty voice, I got fouled. And then Queta sets the screen. Tatum's wide open for a three. Oh, psych, blows right by him. There's a wide open dunk. I'm sorry, but if you're Karl-Anthony Towns, you've got to fight over that screen a little bit harder. I love Derek White, but at the end of the day, the big bodega is 7 feet tall, and he should easily be able to move him out of the way and at least go up and give a better contest than that. But he's late running up to Tatum, and Tatum just blows right by him for the easiest dunk of his life. I mean, folks, this is not rocket science here. We are seeing this over and over again. This is just a simple screen and roll action with two players. I haven't even gone into the passing part of it yet. This is just Jayson Tatum running right by Karl-Anthony Towns every single play. And this is what happens when other players for the Knicks defense start to get involved. Here's Queta again coming up and setting the screen after Karl-Anthony Towns is kind of late to trail because Derek White sticks his booty out there, and Karl-Anthony Towns is late to get to the spot. Tatum's running right by him, so Jalen Brunson's like, nope, I'm not just going to let you get a wide open dunk again. Oh, and here's Derek White, a wide open three-point shot. Cash. It's so easy. It is so easy for Boston offensively, and that's what they've been doing to New York literally all season long. It is so hard for them to stop this screen and roll. Now, one of the things that I really want to highlight here, because we all know how great of a scorer Jayson Tatum is. We all know how great he is when he's able to get downhill, how he can finish at the rim, how he can pull up for those three-point shots, how when he's really feeling it, how he can get to that step back three. He can do it all in terms of scoring the basketball, but where he's really evolved as a player is in his playmaking ability and his passing ability. And we've seen it so much against New York this year when they go into this high screen and roll action. We'll start out in this first play here. Boston is up 25 in the third quarter. Yes, 25 points. Al Horford this time is going to come set the screen on Mikal Bridges, and Karl-Anthony Towns is playing up. He doesn't want Tatum to just walk into a wide open three-pointer. Tatum gets downhill, has a nice little in and out dribble, allows Mikal Bridges to come catch up to him, has a beautiful behind the back pass to Al Horford that forces Jalen Brunson, the help defender, to come up and guard Al Horford because he can't just let him have a wide open three. And this allows Derek White to have a even more open look, wide open in the corner, splashes it home. And that's all because Tatum originally attracted that double team, had a nice behind the back pass, and it leads to a wide open Derek White three-pointer. Again, look at where Jayson Tatum is. He's all the way up at the logo. He's all the way up by half court. Al Horford is setting the screen on Mikal Bridges. Karl-Anthony Towns, he finally got the memo, down 26 points. Look at where his pickup point is now. He's not just going to let Jayson Tatum walk into these tough three-pointers. So Tatum says, okay, Now you want to play a little bit of defense here. I'll attract the double because I know I'm going to have a guy that's wide open. Derek White flashes over the middle of the court. Josh Hart has to step up, and it leaves Jaylen Brown wide open for a three-pointer. And this ultimately happens because Jayson Tatum takes that double from New York. He stays calm and doesn't just kick it to Al Horford right away because OG Anunoby's right there. He kicks it to Derek White, who really does a good job of cutting to the open floor, and this forces Josh Hart or Jalen Brunson to be in a pickle, whether they want to guard Drew Holiday or Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's wide open. Easy three-point shot, you bet. This is earlier in the game. This is one of my favorite passes from JT, actually. Luke Cornett's going to come up and set this screen on Mikal Bridges up near midcourt. Tatum takes the screen. He can get downhill with his left hand if he wants, but he notices that McBride is kind of just ball watching here. So he flings this with his left hand. He is not a left-handed player. He flings this all the way over to the other side of the court for an in-rhythm three for Derek White, and it's right on the money. And that's what you're seeing from Jayson Tatum. He's not forcing anything offensively. I think you see from a lot of great scores in the NBA, they're going to go get downhill with their left hand. Instead, Tatum trusts the guys around him. He trusts his passing ability. He flips this all the way over there with his left hand on the money and trusts that D. White's going to knock down the shot, and you know that he does it. All right, so this time for Boston, they're in a little bit more of a condensed position. They're not putting Karl Anthony Towns in such a difficult spot where he has to either chase Tatum all the way up at the three-point line and he gets burned, or he's just sagging way off and they just hit a wide open three on him. Horford's going to come set this screen on Mikal Bridges. Tatum's going to really fake that three-pointer, sees that Brunson comes all the way over helps, honestly. Derek White, a few feet behind the three-point line, knocks it down, but ladies and gentlemen, that's Jayson Tatum doing a phenomenal job of not forcing that three-pointer here that he, in years past, would definitely take. He has no problem taking that three-point shot, but Jalen Brunson is going to overhelp on this shot fake from Tatum. He gets up in the air, does a great job of getting it over to D. White just in time for him to knock down this three-point shot. And for Boston, they didn't have Kristaps Porzingis the first two times that they played New York. We saw KP for the first time in this New York game on Sunday, and we can already tell what it's going to be like for the Knicks in a 7-game series with KP now, because they've already had such a tough time guarding JT. But when you put a guy in KP that can not only pick and roll, but a guy that can pick and pop at such a high level, it puts the Knicks in even more of a bind. Here's Mikal Bridges guarding Tatum. Kristaps Porzingis on the second set of the games just going to come up and set a simple screen on Jayson Tatum. You have Mikal Bridges running with Tatum, Karl Anthony Towns coming all the way over because he saw the film. He saw all those wide open three-pointers that Tatum had, so he's going to play it a little more aggressively. Tatum sees that his guy KP's popping at the three-point line, wide open three-pointer for Kristaps Porzingis, and you already know he's going to knock it down. This isn't Neemias Queta. This isn't Luke Cornett. This is Kristaps Porzingis you have to worry about, New York Knicks, and that's what they saw right there. And here's the final play that I'll show from the New York games because I just really liked the overall pass that Tatum made here. He gets cross-matched here with Jalen Brunson in transition. They don't need to do anything fancy here because they know there's no need to go set a screen on Jalen Brunson. Jayson Tatum could just play with his food as much as he wants. Tatum, few moves, trying to lull the defenders sleep, thinks he might drive here. Everybody's watching JT. Just overall terrible communication from New York, but instead of trying to force anything, instead of trying to pad his own stats with a potential bucket, he just flings it to Cornette, who's wide open, does a great job with the pump fake, and gets it to go. I think this whole narrative that Twitter and social media tries to create about Jayson Tatum is honestly really dumb. Everybody wants to say he's a corny player, or everyone wants to say he gets carried by the guys around him, or they want to make fun of him about the Olympics, or make fun of him for not winning Finals MVP last year. There are so many examples littered throughout Jayson Tatum's tape about the type of player that he truly is. We all know that he's one of the greatest isolation scorers in the league, and the numbers speak for themselves. And when he's been able to create for the guys around him and really evolve as a playmaker, that's when he becomes his scariest form. And we're seeing it this year with him averaging a career high in assists per game. And of course, as a guy that's 6'9", you're going to be good at rebounding the basketball, but it's really on the defensive side of the floor as well, where he's just such a tremendous player and he really doesn't get enough credit for it. And I go back and forth. It's like, man, all this criticism against Jayson Tatum is really unfair, and I think people should lay off. But at the same token, how lucky is he that he gets all of this criticism as a guy that just won a championship? It's honestly just more fuel to the fire at this point. Everybody that actually knows the game of basketball knows how good Jayson Tatum is. He doesn't have to worry about the trolls. He doesn't have to worry about the critics. He doesn't have to worry about guys on TV that are saying, oh, Jayson Tatum is getting carried by Jaylen Brown. At the end of the day, he averaged more points, rebounds, and assists in the finals and Eastern Conference finals than Jaylen Brown and got snubbed at both awards. So I just think right now we're at a point with JT where it's like people need to be careful about how much they're criticizing him, because this guy might rattle off a few championships when we're all said and done, and he's still very, very young into his career. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. My name is Caden Kubler, and thank you guys for watching. See ya.